Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the NFT Studio 24 video podcast. NFT Studio 24, we are a global educational media platform, and we're dedicating to empowering the emerging world of Web3, the metaverse, and NFTs by reporting on the most authentic and coolest news all around the world. Our podcast interviews with various figures around the world, and we're here to focus on their expertise and their contributions to this industry. And NFT Studio 24, we soon will be launching the Metaverse for All campaign in Africa, Japan, India, and we want to educate 3 million people about the metaverse. And we also recently launched NFT Studio 24 community portal for students and young adults wanting to learn about Web3, the metaverse, and so much more. So today it's very exciting because we are going to be interviewing the members of Blockchain Game Alliance. And without further ado, let's talk to our guests. And we're starting off with Michael Sofaer. He is the CEO of Pylons, a blockchain for digital art and NFTs and games built on the Cosmos ecosystem. And Michael has an extensive background in NFTs and software development. A very special welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
And we also have Ryan Day, sales director at Blockworks, which is a well-known media website, and he has helped many famous marketer leaders and organizations by bringing them closer to their target customer. So at Blockworks has initiated partnerships with multi-crypto brands. A very special welcome, Ryan. And
Hey.
our third guest, we have Nick Vale. He is the co-founder of ReNFT Labs, a multi-chain NFT rental protocol that allows collateral-free in-house renting, lending, and scholarship automations. And Nick is also the co-founder of Rumble League Studios. Thank you guys so much. This is so much to unpack, obviously. So tell us, we're going to jump right in with Michael specifically. Michael, we're going to start with you, and Pylons is very unique. It's a very unique platform. Can you introduce us and the entire audience as to what you guys do?
Yeah, so Pylons is a full stack solution for bringing blockchain items, Web3 property to regular people by sort of removing what I view as the really painful sources of friction that sort of the crypto nerds, of which I am one, don't really mind, but that sort of won't really permit adoption. And those things are basically browser extensions, having to interact with cryptocurrencies, and having to pay microtransactions upfront fees to try out the network. So, those three sources of friction are, in my opinion, won't let blockchain really reach regular people, because regular people have mobile phones, they have fiat money, and they've learned that the internet is free, at least until, at least for a while, right? That everything starts free. So that's how the internet is. That's how people are going to learn to use blockchain. And we built a blockchain and wallet and SDK that powers free-to-play mobile blockchain experiences.
Well, that's awesome the way you're able to actually break that down, because regular people, we're always looking for, the easiest way to adoption. So the way you broke it down was very easily understood. So thank you so much for that. So Ryan, you have an extensive background in marketing. What is your criteria when you pick partners at Blockworks?
Yeah, I mean, you're being very gracious in saying I have an extensive background, but I do work on marketing plans for a lot of folks on a day-to-day basis. I think the biggest thing is, and you see this, we are a news and media organization. And I think about this not just for Blockworks, but also I host the show Playconomy. A big factor of what can be lost in the industry, especially after all of the recent news that has come out, and the recent news before that, and the recent news before that, is there's an element of trust that is kind of paramount to everything else that exists in the industry. And so when we're looking at partners, it's not just, hey, like they have a good marketing budget and their item seems cool and flashy. It's a lot of, hey, like if we put out content or if we put out marketing on this, and someone makes a $10 billion trade based on the information that we're providing, will we sleep easily at the end of the night? And so if we can't answer that correctly, there's a good chance that we wouldn't do some sort of marketing partnership, because we don't want to, like, the worst thing that you could do is lose the trust of the people that are out there who are paying attention, who are digging in. And it's the number one thing you cannot just buy is trust. And so we've spent a long time earning that over time, and we don't want to fumble that at this point.
Well, you make
Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And you make the most important point, and all of these conversations and interviews that we're having with NFT Studio 24 and our guests, we do talk about the trust factor and the onboarding. So thank you so much for echoing everything that we've been hearing and we've been really wanting in this space. So Nick, with ReNFT, a rental protocol for the metaverse, how is that different from other lending platforms, and how can users benefit overall from that platform?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's first important to note we get a lot of confusion with like a traditional loan protocol lending platform, right? Which we aren't at all. We are very focused on renting lending, specifically within gaming, more than anything, and that term lending kind of confuses a lot of people. So we aren't loans, right? We are true rentals, like when you rent an apartment that you're used to. But more than anything, like what we're focused on is sort of unbundling your NFT, right? Like when you think about an NFT, you have a lot stuck together right now. You have, some access, some IP rights, some sort of, maybe it's an event ticket over here, maybe it's a gaming asset to unlock an experience here, it's maybe an investment vehicle to some people. So more than anything, we're really focused on separating that and allowing you, the way our protocol works is actually assigning these use rights, right? You actually lend those out to others for whatever X utility is, be it to an event, be it to some, deeper level like gaming experience or what have you. Maybe it's some virtual plot, maybe it's a higher level sword in a video game, whatever it is. So I think like more than anything, when we talk about that is accessibility at the end of the day. Gamers, asking them to even purchase $15 in an experience is something they're not used to, let alone 15,000, right?
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much for making that point. And we're going to continue to talk about, the whole rental aspect, because people that are onboarding into this space are still scratching their head and trying to understand specifically what that means. So thank you so much for, leading the charge in that. So Michael, let's go to you. Since Pylon blockchain is built for NFTs and digital art, what benefits do you offer of new emerging for creators in this overall space?
Biggest benefit is really for an emerging creator the absence of any sort of like upfront payment or need to go through a review committee of any kind. It's a fully permissionless system, and there's no gas fees, so you can just use it.
No gas
right
fees.
That's right. It's we put a lot of engineering time into building a system that charges commission instead of using gas fees. As far as I know, we're the only chain that does this, where transactions are free natively on chain unless you pay money, in which case the chain takes a cut, right? And this is the business model that makes trillions of dollars on the internet, and no one in blockchain is actually doing it. But so our opinion is that the internet has figured this out. We know what the business model is for online interactions, and it's this freemium model, and so blockchain needs to do that. Like the world and people are not going to change for blockchain, right? Blockchain has to go where the model is, and that's what we've done. We've made this chain where anyone can download the publishing tool, the art publishing tool, on their phone, publish art for free, and they don't pay anything unless someone buys the work. And so that, I think, for me, like, you don't need to browser extension, you don't need any complicated software. It's just on your phone, upload your art, and no risk. So that's our real pitch to emerging artists. Like, give it a try, right? Pull out your phone, put something up, put a price on it. There's no risk. Let's see how it goes.
I mean, I love how you broke that down, because specifically for artists, their adoption of what blockchain is, the fact that you're taking away the gas fees and all the intricacies of connecting to that world, what is the feedback that you've been getting from artists that you're actually making this process so much easier, Michael?
So the artists have been really loving the experience of putting work up. We've made a lot of changes to how the publishing tool works based on what artists have given us around sort of like, making sure that they can really post the art and it looks the way they want it to look. So like adding like cropping and zooming tools and stuff so that, you can get what you want out of the art. And I think they've loved it. They've been really happy. The main thing that sort of we are working on next is trying to figure out a way to provide reach, right? We're like a service where we're a publishing platform. It's much more like self-publishing right now, where you can put it up there, but you have to drive the traffic yourself, right? And so, it's a platform where you can sell blockchain art, but it isn't a platform that markets you. And so that's sort of our next, one thing we're exploring based on feedback is like, can we add features that help artists reach people, a curation? Do we want to have a feed of curated art that we like that we're pushing out there? Do we want to have a place for art where people pay to have it promoted, right? All of this stuff around like what can we be as a channel rather than as a platform? That's sort of our next set of exploration based on the feedback we've gotten.
There's so much to unpack here, like really speaking about this ecosystem. Now, Ryan, I want to ask you, as a media platform, we all have obviously a role to play. What are suggestions on educating the overall public about the Web3 and the metaverse as you see now?
Yeah, if you have the perfect answer to that, please let us know, because it's definitely it's quite a task for anyone. But I think the issue, especially like one thing that I'm seeing a lot right now is like even the term like Web3, like in the industry, immediately what we're talking about, but it is one of the, like, if you look at search terms from people who aren't necessarily in the industry or anything like that, like no one outside of Web3 understands like what Web3 is. Like, so whenever I talk to a friend or, someone in my family or something like that about what Web3 is, they're always like, wait, isn't it just the web? Like, and then you have this crypto Bitcoin stuff. So I think a lot of what's happening is we may be thinking, that the terminology and what have you makes sense, but there is really this like elementary level of, and maybe elementary is like a bad adjective for it, but you really do have to break it down into the lingo and the conversation that they're having. So when you think about how to break down, not just what we're talking about, what we're writing, you also have to think about the lingo that is being used. And also, it's giving people different opportunities to engage with content in different ways. So like learning about a gasless, I have so many questions, Mike, but like learning about this like gasless art development platform built on the Cosmos blockchain, like just that sentence is like, think about how many pieces of vocabulary we all as individuals in the industry understand, like without having to like dig into the specifics. So, but if I am new to the space, or if I'm just getting off of Bitcoin and going to Ethereum for the first time or things like that, there's a lot that I need to catch up on. And I may be a podcast listener, or I may be a reader, or I may be into video YouTube clips of Michael Saylor screaming, "There is no second best." Like it doesn't matter. When you're thinking about educating, you need to think about it from multiple angles, not just vocabulary and word usage and doing it in podcasts like we're doing here, but how do you take that content you're putting out in these really complex concepts in different places? So it's kind of a twofold approach, two-pronged. How are you saying it, and in what channel are you saying it? I think is the two things you should think about. But I do have a ton of questions, Mike. That's wild to me.
I think we all do. No, I think we all do, and this is a great conversation that we're all having. And I think, like I said, interviews like this just really help us break down how we're just breaking down information, how we're digesting it, and even the conversations that we're having in our internal circles, which is kind of different that the type of conversations that you guys are all having. And when we have these conversations, we mush it together, and then we get a beautiful baby Web3, right?
Hey, it's this really simple term that we all just understand innately. Like everyone should get it. Web3, here we go. Yeah. So.
No, I know, but I love that you definitely said that. Nick, obviously we know that the NFT marketplace, it has its ups and downs. Some people may call it volatile. And, let's talk about, many people think that lending platforms are at risk, so how do you convince people about your space and the service that you guys are offering?
Definitely. Yeah. I guess what market isn't volatile in today's age, right? But it certainly is one of the more volatile ones. But more than anything, like we're not, so, in your traditional like lending style platform, there's this risk of liquidation, right? And so that is completely removed with how we do things. The renter's not actually gaining full custody of any sort of asset of yours, right? It's technically escrowed in a contract on chain The only person that can remove that is the original owner after the actual rental term, right? So everything is fully trustless, automated, which is key for us. Like you're seeing, and we see it in even the traditional gaming world today with sort of like underground black markets around like skin trading, skin lending, all these different things, right? But even in what is really small right now, but Web3 quote unquote gaming, we're seeing it as well through like guild models, right? And through just users that have different assets that they want to lend out. Maybe they're a part of multiple gaming ecosystems, but they don't plan to play them, or they can't play them all at once, right? There's somebody else on the flip side who wants to try out this new experience on a deeper level, or see if it's for them, or just express themselves in a different way, whatever it is. And so like that's what's key for us, is unlocking that with no risk, right? So arguably there's less security concern than like even your traditional real world model, right? Like if you were to rent out your apartment, there's this risk of destruction of your asset. Sure, there's insurance and there's ways around it, but all of that's actually completely removed with how we do things. This sort of virtual use right that's just a transaction on chain ultimately in a contract is mapping back to the original agreement in the project where we have a rental integration, be it a game, maybe it's some real life token gating hardware, whatever it is. They're just accepting that, right? So there's not actually like this transfer of asset anywhere outside of the owner's control ultimately. So like that's the biggest thing for us. So like there really is no risk to try it out. Sure, there's security concerns always in our space. Everything is new. We're building on rocky foundations to start with, right? Like this is very cutting edge. I think a lot of people forget that in blockchain in general, but even your traditional Web 2 servers and in that whole world, plenty of things can go wrong, right? So I think there's similar risks, but security is number one for us because they're NFTs at the end of the day. They are non-fungible. We can't replace them in the same way you could maybe at least attempt to replace an ERC20 or just some crypto, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for breaking that down. I mean, obviously, there is risk in anything that we do, but the more that we focus on how we can protect our users and our community, I think that's just what's really paramount to all of us. So Michael,
can I ask Nick, is it all right if I ask a question? I'm like super curious because
Yeah,
like, is there like a sorry, I'm just like I'm
No,
thrown by these things. What's like a good example of a game? Like, do you have games that are on the platform right now, or someone that's using? I'm just like so curious.
Yeah, so a lot of games we're integrating with, of course, they're building their own products still, right?
Right.
We come late in the stack, but a really exciting one that's driving quite a bit of activity on Avalanche right now is called Castle Crush. So actually fascinating case study because it's, if you're not familiar with that game, the first time we've seen a successful mobile game add NFTs and not vice versa, right? Not launch NFTs to build a game.
Then do the game.
The game has, right, so the game has about 1.5 million active players. We've seen in 2 months, and the UX is quite honestly awful from a traditional perspective because they're app store workarounds. We won't go down there, but nonetheless, we've seen close to, I think about 80,000 transactions just on that, and people are trying out the game, they're renting different cards, they're kind of skipping steps 1 through 6 of grind because they just want to get it deeper level gameplay at the end of the day.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for letting me ask that.
It is,
I'm gonna go check that out after this. Yeah.
But thank you so much, Ryan, for even asking that, and talking about that. So Michael, specifically, here at NFT Studio 24, we also promote Metaverse for All. It's obviously our campaign. And through Pylons, can you share what the company's vision is overall with that slogan?
Whole blockchain career, which is getting close to a decade at this point. Actually, it might be more than a decade now. Are
you Satoshi Nakamoto?
Negative. That's several more years. So
All right, cool.
But thank you for asking. That's really sweet.
Yeah,
no one ever asked me that. No one ever asked me that anymore. And
that's
and
a
it's
long
really
time.
Yeah, I really missed that. I didn't realize how much I missed that. So yeah, I mean, I built a Bitcoin exchange, and we had a lot of really wealthy people using it to more or less evade capital controls and speculate on the obsolescence of national governments as a concept. And those things are like, I don't mind building. I don't know. Those are not things that like drive me out of bed in the morning, you know? Like, it's fine. I don't know. I don't know. I don't object. Happy to work and get paid to do that. But what drives me out of bed in the morning is like disintermediating the like financial parasites from the people who actually produce value in this world. You know, what gets me angry is like looking at financial statements from banks and how much money they make on overdraft fees to people who don't have any money, right? Like the numbers there are so brutal. And what for me, what drives me is like, I want to build something where some guy in like Kinshasa can like make some art and put it online and get paid, right? And produce goods that are digital goods that are tradable and that people all over the world can buy and that don't have intermediaries, right? I just want to like remove intermediaries, as many intermediaries as possible, and get people onboarded onto this like native digital ownership train. And I strongly believe that it's art and fashion that will drive this. It's not money. People don't really have money, right? Like most people don't have a positive net worth. And so, you know, they can't really like put their savings on the blockchain because they don't have savings, right? But they do have fashion, they do have art, right? They might play Fortnite or something like that. They hang out in Zoom calls and can have digital hats, right? So this is the stuff that to me, you know, when I started this company, when I first started pitching it, I was saying like what I want to be is the warehouse, like the clearinghouse for digital hats between venues, where like you can have a bunch of artists that sell a bunch of hats and a bunch of venues where you can wear your hats. And I want to be this clearinghouse where we like track who owns what hats and any venue can, right? That was my original pitch, like, you know, 4 years ago, right? So like I'm still sort of driving towards that, and a lot of pieces of that have been picked up by other projects, and you know we you know that's a huge piece of the world. So we'll see. But I still am really like focused on this, like how do we connect the broad you know set of artists and creators to this broad set of venues that are popping up in a way that like, you know, the way it works now, and I know I'm going on a while, but I'm almost done. The way it works now is when you go to a party, in the metaverse, right? You go to some company's venue, and it's like you walk in the door and you know the lobby person, like the elevator for the party's over there, and you get in the elevator, and in the elevator there's a dude in a trench coat, and he's like, do you want some hats, right? Because you can only wear their clothes in their party, right? You can't wear like clothes from somewhere else in their party, right? Every venue has its own sort of like set of stuff that you can sort of deck yourself out with. And I'm really like, to me, metaverse for all means changing that paradigm, moving the power to the artist, to the creator, so that if you buy a hat from an artist, you can wear it in any venue you go to, right? And I'm trying to build technology that undergirds sort of the easy creation of that stuff. So as far as I know, we're the only chain that has a 3D model minting process that's like nice and easy and simple. You can make a 3D model and sell it just like you sell a JPEG. And so, you know, we really want to make this stuff like super, super simple. And we really want to make it super accessible to any venue that someone shows up and it's like, hey, does this person have this hat? Yes, he does. Okay, sweet, I'm going to render it. Right, we're trying to be the rails for sort of like moving the power to the people, to the creators, and away, you know, from these huge corporate venues, right? These like massive companies that billion dollar companies that run these venues and try to make everyone buy their clothes again every day, right? Right. That's my vision for metaverse for all.
I definitely love it. Honestly, I really, it's just so great how you all are able to break down these very complex concepts and just break it down for everyone. You know, I love the fact that you use a hat concept, and wouldn't we all want to be able to have that, you know, that authenticity, that ownership? But I mean, just a fun question, what type of hat would represent your personality, Mike?
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna ask that to everybody, you know. Other than you see the type of hat you'll choose.
I have one hat I really love right now that's kind of sort of my hat that is on my shelf, which is this like hand-tooled leather top hat with like guitars sort of like carved into it, and like in the front there's like a guitar pick instead of like a gem. It's just like a, you know, leather guitar rock and roll hat. Yeah.
I mean, you wear it in New York, right? Because of the weather.
I wear it in New York. I've worn it to a couple events. Yeah. That's my hat.
And maybe you can wear it into the metaverse, because obviously it'll show like your personality. But I love how you talked about that.
I would love to go out and find go to the person who made this object and work with them on making a 3D model that we can, they can mint and that we can then sort of import into all these venues, and you can go wandering around. I don't know.
Well, there you go. The conversation started here, and we may be seeing hat in the metaverse. But how about you, Ryan? What type of hat?
Yeah, so I have a tattoo of a kraken on my arm, so I'm definitely gonna go with a pirate hat. Just it's just sailing the 7 seas of the metaverse. It doesn't matter if it's virtual or real water. Gotta get out there, gotta plunder some booty, and hang out, have a good time. So definitely a pirate hat.
That is very cool. And how about you, my friend? You have a baseball hat right there. Would it be a baseball hat?
I like the pirate hat, but without stealing that, maybe a cowboy hat.
Okay.
Western vibe.
A cowboy hat.
10-gallon. Yeah. A little beaver skin.
I don't know that that's really my personality, but I'm to get it interesting.
Yeah.
No, I definitely. I'll choose a newsboy hat. A newsboy hat, definitely.
Okay.
Those are super cute.
Yeah, the little paper that says press on it. Yeah.
Yes. Hey, press. I love it. Well, the conversation started here. So, Ryan, specifically, let's talk about Blockworks.
Yeah.
You work with an amazing team of very highly professional individuals, and we usually get this question all the time. What career opportunities overall do you offer young students or anybody that's interested in joining your team?
Yeah, I'll take a step back. I think overall, there's a lot of people that are coming into the industry. Like I am considered a veteran, and I've been working at Blockworks for 2.5 years. That is my crypto length, and I am a quote unquote veteran in the industry, which is crazy to think about. Any other industry, if you were to say that to someone's face, they'd laugh at you. So this is really
it goes to show how fast this industry moves. Web3, 2 years in Web3 is like 10 years.
Yeah, it's definitely dog years. So you get a crash course when you join, and so one of the recommendations that I always give for people that are looking to get in the industry is like, we have someone doing gaming, we have someone doing art and NFTs, we have someone who does media. There is so many things getting built out there. Like, sure, the underlying technology is blockchain, but there's so many verticals within that, right? You could go institutional, you could go gaming, you could go your heart so desires. They're building on this trustless infrastructure. So find what your niche is, find what interests you, because 9 out of 10 times there hasn't been that role built for you before at whatever company that we're doing. So when you're thinking about applying to an opportunity, you're not like, hey, there's this person who has 10 years of experience doing this in blockchain, because that just, outside of Mike, who may or may not be Satoshi Nakamoto, there isn't that wealth of experience. So you're never having a passion in the industry is going to carry you so much further than having like the right resume of experience. I think 9 out of 10 times, because that's what people are looking for. They're looking to bring people, and when we're hiring at Blockworks, we're looking to bring people onto the bus that are like super keen on furthering the industry as a whole, right? And the only people who are going to do that aren't the ones who like clock in for a job, but the ones who are like, when I log out, I'm playing GameFi Web3 games and like learning about everything that's happening there, because like that's of interest of me. So I would say if you're looking to get hired anywhere in crypto, find your niche. Just be super interested, and that will carry you way further than having the right set of credentials or resume or anything like that. Hop into a Discord, be a DGen, and it's wild how many DGens get hired these days at like very established crypto firms. So,
well, thank you so much for that advice. I know our students and our curious minds are we get that question a lot.
Yeah.
So specifically, Nick, you mentioned ReNFTs about scholarship automation. Would you be able to break that down and what that means overall?
Yeah, definitely. Scholarship automation is like slightly dated. It's more of this like reward share product. More broadly, scholarship is kind of more tailored towards the guilds and some products we offer them. But I think first of all, like a lot of these gaming guilds are going through a bit of an identity crisis, right? We saw a lot of what I call DeFi Ponzi's with a skin games come up and Go, and like we all kind of know what happened there through this GameFi craze, so to speak. But what was shocking to us, we started on ReNFT about 2 years ago, and we were seeing all of that happen. And like when you actually saw what was happening under the hood, it was shocking, right? And it was a pretty simple model with guilds where you had people with capital and then people who either wanted to earn to then, you know, sell assets to people who didn't want to grind and work their way up or didn't have time or whatever the case is. And so what was actually happening is like they were doing it all manual. They were sharing account emails and passwords to these actual scholars. So it's essentially this rental model, but kind of flipped and in a horrible way. And then, you know, they were tracking through Google spreadsheets. I kid you not, like most of these transaction flows, how to pay someone out. They had a middleman who, you know, is this manager who takes 30% off the top, which already is like insane for something you can completely automate. And when we looked at that, we're like, the entire point of this new tech is to have trustless automated tech and do all of this, like transparently, all of it, right? And so that was kind of one of the first initial things we built for, is we're like, let's take what is a rental model that we're already focused on and kind of flip the script. So how that reward share product actually works today, and we're integrating it with a lot of games across all chains, is the actual asset owner, be it a guild with a lot of assets, somebody, some large whale holder, or just you who has a gaming asset and wants to lend it out while you're not playing the game to somebody else, you can actually predefine set rev share reward splits, right? That could be some in-game ERC20s, it could be like some NFT rewards in there, whatever it is. We work, it depends game to game, how their ecosystem set up, their economy, like it all depends. We're less concerned about like creating their use cases and more just about the tech to enable whatever they have in mind. But then it completely automates it, right? So now you have this scenario where somebody from the outside world could come across, and instead of like a traditional rental you're used to where you pay an upfront price for, let's say, X days, and you get that asset to use it. Instead, you can just use that asset with or without an upfront price. That's up to the lender to determine. And they're just getting automatically a split of whatever they're actually completing or earning in that game, right? So now you have no upfront cost. Your accessibility is there. There's really no reason. It's kind of like a reverse user acquisition cost in a way, for a game to start to onboard people, get used to their ecosystem. Sure, there's free to play models, but those are always different. They're always a lower kind of experience than the actual game is, if we're just focusing on gaming for a second.
Well, thank you so much for breaking that down for us. And we're moving to Mike. You know, if somebody does not have software development experience, what type of advice would you have for them, especially with your platform, if they wanted to start working in that space?
We have a creator tool. So, you know, if you want to publish art, you want to write a book, you know, we have tools for that already. You can go to the App Store, you can download Easel and Pylons Easel, and you can publish whatever you want already. You don't need to be a programmer. So you can start working in the space without programming tools immediately if you're creative of a different kind. If you want to get into game design, you know, you have to be able to build a mobile game. We are a platform. We have I guess we can call it smart contracts. I don't really love the term, but we built a transaction engine that you sort of program your games in JSON, where you say, like, you know, it's very much like a sort of we call it a recipe system. So you can say, like, if I have these items, I can put them in a recipe and I get out these items, and you can program sort of a tree of transformation for your stuff that is a game. And you do that in JSON. So you don't need to know any blockchain programming to build a blockchain game on our blockchain. But, you know, you do need to be able to build a mobile game, right? We didn't solve that piece.
Of course, but it's making it so much easier.
Yeah, we're really making it so that if you're a mobile dev and you want to build a mobile game that's powered by the chain, that's easy. It's trivial. You can just define your blockchain transitions and put them in our SDK, and it all just works. Just in JSON. You know, if you want to be a hat artist, go for it. We had a brief conversation with Decentraland. That sort of at the moment is not super active, but we're looking for these venues. You know, people who want to sort of integrate additional chains into how they display stuff. So we're really always active in sort of talking to venues to bring them on to sort of, be able to display the 3D models that we have on our chain as art, and work with them to figure out, like, is there a way to do rigging? We have to solve this. It's a really big sort of general problem for the space, is how do you do like a general model, like an avatar model? How do you do it? Like, how do you rig it? What sort of textures should you have? Like, how do you do something that can sort of have a base look and then can be customized for each venue to match that venue's style?
Yeah.
Really big problem. And it's like not going to be addressed in the next year, right? But we're starting on that. And if you're interested in like trying to be an artist who makes like venue neutral avatars and fashion, you should look me up, because I want to talk to you and help you publish that stuff.
No, it's awesome. But, we're asking the right questions. And I think that's the most important thing. Even though it may take us a year, we keep on asking the questions and the reiterations over and over again until we finally get that solution. So it's really, really exciting.
It's such an important and huge thing to move digital fashion out of the hands of the big corporations that control it right now and into the hands of the people and the artists. And it's going to be a huge battle. The venues are not going to want, like Fortnite or whatever does not want people to import skins from somewhere else that they didn't pay full price in Fortnite for. And we're just going to have to fight. Like, the people of the world are just going to be like, well, we're only hanging out in places that let us use the skins we already own. And we're not going to be sort of subject to these venue by venue, like company stores. And that's just a cultural battle that's going to play out over the next like 5 years. And, we all have to line up and do our part. Because that's just like, that's the mission for bringing for bringing the value, the labor, the added value of labor back to the laborer.
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely bring up a very, very poignant point. Ryan, you've done so many partnerships with crypto brands, and from your perspective, do you think Web3 will be massively adopted within the next 5 years or so? I know you touched on it.
Yeah, so I don't know if Web3 the term will, but like generally speaking, the concepts of Web3, I think
like bits and pieces.
Yeah, those bits and pieces. 100%. And I think that you're seeing early indications of this, right? However many dark, deep Reddit threads that I've been on that are like the vitriol that is spit towards NFTs. And now all of them are like joyously like showcasing their like little Reddit avatars that are digital collectibles. And it's just like, it's funny how we got it in there anyway. And then Starbucks, right? This could be the biggest crypto onboarding event in a very long time. Millions of people will now own NFTs on the Polygon blockchain, but do they know that they're NFTs? Do they like understand what's happening on the back end? And I know. So that's like the big thing. And maybe they learn about it afterwards, like, oh, maybe this wasn't so bad. Like, maybe I should go check out some more. And so I think, I'm a big, my big thesis going into 2023, 24, 5, gaming will do the same thing to a broader audience that Starbucks is doing and Reddit is doing in their own individual kind of ecosystems. And, what Mike and Nick are building right now, I think are going to be paramount in that. And so easily, I think you have 3 billion gamers out there. If you could tell each of the 3 billion out of what, there are 8 or 9 billion people in the world right now, that they could play a game and take a piece of that with them at some point, and if they're done with it, go sell it on the secondary market, so that way they don't have to, all of that they've invested into the game isn't necessarily just a big goose egg if they're done with the game. That's a very compelling statement. I don't think it's going to replace like income across the world, don't get me wrong, although that would be a wonderful situation. I would just give up on everything in the real life and just go do that. But until that utopia happens, and that's probably like 2026, so I know that's outside of the scope of this question, so but once before that happens, I definitely think I think gaming will be the reason that Web3 is Web3, quote unquote. The pieces of Web3 will be so ubiquitous in society because people will be knowing, like, they won't understand what's happening on the back end, but they'll be using these things day in and day out. So it'll be cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And to continue to piggyback on, Nick, with ReNFT, you guys offer builders and developers opportunities, but how can young students utilize that specific infrastructure in the metaverse and how you see it?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of our, like, first, we build most things in open, right? And I think that's one of the best things about the culture of this space we all work in, is things are built open for others to composedly build on, iterate with, right? We've seen so many cool contributions, just even to small things we've spun out there as test cases or research or whatever. And so, you know, we still do delay some things just for network effects, and it's early days for some of the stuff we're doing, of course. But a lot of, especially 2023, a lot of our focus is starting to open all of that, right? So right now, as we're integrating with some of these games, a lot of it's hand holding. It's a mess out there, right? Like, everyone's integrating blockchain or NFTs or whatever you want to call it in some different way. Wallet flows are different, custodial solutions, non-custodial, like, it's all over the place. And so we can't build for everything all at once. And so that's how we see our community ultimately, like, getting really involved and being leveraged as well, is putting these building blocks out there for people to iterate on, build on as well, where, you know, it's like, hey, if you're doing X, Y, and Z, you can implement X, Y, and Z on your end and it will work, right? And then we as the core team focus a little more on the larger, more compelling integrations, you know, a lot more custom style solutions, really opening things. So I think there's plenty of ways to get involved. Like, even today, even with it being early days, we have sort of, you know, this like community Mission Astro program where people can come in, they can earn both money, NFT rewards, all kinds of things for just getting involved, be it contributing content, like Ryan was kind of touching on a little bit, like maybe you're just writing a Twitter thread about where you see this space going, maybe you're actually writing a full research post, maybe you're committing some code on some like functionality we have an idea about but don't have immediate bandwidth for. But I think, like, we could all probably agree up here that, like, you know, we were talking a little bit about it earlier, but just get involved. Like, you know, I'm sure you guys do as well, but we interview tons of people, and you might have 10 years experience in marketing, but you know, 2 years, to Ryan's point as well, like, in this space is like a PhD, and like, it's completely different where the noise come from, the focus point. Like, there hasn't been traditional industries, in my opinion, that have had community this important in this forefront ever. Like, even in gaming, where the community is very involved in your traditional, you know, Web 2, they still, like, the publisher can piss them off, they're still going to buy the game, they're still going to play it, right? Like, they almost don't have a
EA is still in business, like, clearly.
Exactly. Like, they'll just get a little backflack on Reddit, and the person will be playing their game while typing a negative thing, right?
Yeah, I know.
Still earning from them at the end of the day, which is what they care about. And so, I guess my point is just get involved. Like, there's a million things happening. Focus is one of the most difficult things in this space. So there's a place for you, I guarantee it.
Well, you know, thank you so much for those optimistic words, you know, and all of you as a member of the Blockchain Game Alliance, how does the organization's mission overall align with your company's goal? We can start with you, Michael.
You know, it's been really great to be in a community of people who are, like, trying to do sort of from a product perspective some of the same things I've been doing. You know, I've been really heads down building, engineering, and been sort of heavily connected to sort of the Cosmos ecosystem, and those guys are awesome, and ladies, and they're working really hard, but they're very much like a, you know, DeFi focused crew, and they're working on DAO tooling, and they're working on, like, really, like, you know, writing a lot of sort of like optimization code, and sort of it now that we have a product and it's ready and you can use it. We're out here talking to, like, game people, and it's just been, like, really awesome to, like, have a community, to be part of a community that's like, yeah, we want to do this, like, we're for real, you know. And I'm not having to pitch people on, like, should there be blockchain games, right? Like, and that's been really awesome, and it's been great to get feedback from people and interact with people, and it's just been a really positive crew. And I just think, you know, they're welcoming, communicative, and if you're interested in blockchain gaming, like, you know, apply, reach out. Like, it's a good crew.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing that. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, The BGA is like, it's a lot of fun. I joined because I'm just super into everything GameFi and everything being built with Web3 games. I know GameFi is like a dead term. It's how quickly the things change. That was like the it term just 6 months ago. But
honestly, that term was always bad, and I always
already using outdated lingo. Look at here, this veteran already making mistakes. But no, BJ is fantastic. So when I'm not the sales director of Blockworks, I moonlight as the show host of Playconomy. So all we do is play games and showcase them to gamers. And so it's a really, really great community there. But circling back to like one of the questions you asked earlier about finding the right partners, BGA, every single organization that's within BGA they've done the litmus test for us in that sense. They're all great people. They're all great partners. They're all building this kind of forward momentum together in the gaming space. And I don't know, it's just really easy to like log into the BGA Discord and like type something in and get like really well thought out responses and insight, because all these other people, I can't tell you how many gaming and NFT communities, and all of them are just like, when token, when up, like give me free NFT. And like this one's nice because everyone's like on the other side of the equation, usually like getting all of those messages, so we can all kind of work together in that sense. So it's a good breath of fresh air from other folks who are like heads down building versus just hoping to like get that free giveaway.
You make a very good point. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just echo their thoughts, really. I think to add to it a little bit, like one of the downsides of our space, at least in its current state, is there's a lot of nonsense out there. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and everyone's partnering with everyone for no reason that doesn't actually do anything, not projects like ourselves, but there's plenty out there, I guess is my point. There's this sort of like scammy side of it. And the BGA, like what's incredible about just being in there and networking with these projects is exactly that. Like they're real projects, building real products, trying to solve real problems, right? Rather than launching a token that doesn't do anything and pumping it up, marketing it, and in 6 months it's dead, right? And so I think that's just been really cool for us, as well as just networking with all these different gamers. You have like traditional game developers in there. You have Web3 natives building really large ecosystems, really small, like everything in between. You kind of get the full slew of it, and anyone can kind of just jam with anyone in there. And that's rare these days, especially in the gaming industry.
Well, thank you guys so much for chatting about that. Now we are winding things down. We're going to do a very short round of rapid fire questions. So whatever comes to mind, remember you're amongst friends. So I'm going to start real quick. And number one, what are your predictions on Bitcoin prices for 2023?
Satoshi?
That one question.
Yeah, Satoshi. Oh, you're on mute, Mike. All the good lawyer. Of course, Satoshi Nakamoto would go on mute when he's giving away the secret. Oh my goodness.
Unfortunately, I haven't finished programming what the prices are going to be. I'm actually going to do that next week, so okay. I can't.
Zero.
Yeah. I can't give you too much. I think there's a lot of stuff to pay attention to. The DCG, DCG situation is the biggest contender. My fundamental impression is that in this case, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, but I think the maxis are basically right that the thesis of the value of Bitcoin hasn't changed, right? If you believed in Bitcoin for any kind of like thesis-driven reason, you should still believe in Bitcoin. If you were following the momentum train, this isn't maybe your time, right? Maybe chill. But like, Fidelity just added a feature for selling, for Bitcoin. We're going to see a lot of unwinding, and my suspicion is people are going to wind up with less Bitcoin than they want, and FTX is not Bitcoin. They're not going to be mad at Bitcoin, and they're going to, at some point, look to have more Bitcoin. That's my suspicion. I think we end next year higher than this year. Yeah, and as your lawyer, you should buy immediately.
Yeah.
So do you think the utility of NFTs will change 5 years from now? Whatever that may mean for you.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I think NFT,
100%.
Yeah. Are we all answering each question? How does this work?
Yeah. I'll take this one, even though Mike and Nick are like way closer to this than me. But it's just because there's one specific piece of interest that I have here, which is kind of the identity aspect of NFTs that come into play, where in the future when everyone's paying us directly to serve ads to us, I think that there's this really interesting overlay between like the reason that, and we brought up Reddit a few times, but the reason that Reddit ads are targeted so well is they don't go based on demographic, which is like, I am a 30 to 35-year-old male with 2 kids sitting in a place in North Carolina. I must like these set of ads because another cohort of my peers like this stuff. But in Reddit, they target based on, what you're interested in, what you subreddit, what you are subscribed to. And your wallet will be filled with NFTs that are specifically targeted to what you're interested in. It could be GameFi, it could be art, it could be hardcore metal hats that have a guitar pick on the top, and you will be able to segment out that level because of what NFTs, and you could package that up into something that you could sell out, like, hey, you want to serve me ads? Sure, pay me, and you'll know exactly what I'm interested in. And it's actually kind of cool because we all win, right? So I think that there's some really cool things that can come and pop up because of that. And then you can just revoke access to your NFT later down the road using your ReNFT rental system when you don't want to get served ads anymore. It's coming full circle, friends. We're packaging it all together.
I definitely love it. What are your thoughts, Nick?
I mean, I think it's going to be completely different. I'll also add that I don't think you're going to even know, or at least the vast majority of people interacting with NFTs won't know what an NFT is necessarily. They're just going to understand that this is a digital thing that I own. I can sell, trade, I can do whatever I want with it, right? Like innate ownership digitally is the biggest thing, right? Like, I don't think, in 5 years, you're not going to understand how many validators it takes to make a decentralized blockchain, right? Or these kind of things that we all geek out on, hey, this is doing this wrong on a network level. Like, you don't hear people talking about what AWS is doing for their Instagram account, right? And so, and there's always that age-old joke of like advertising the languages you're building to build your product on the front, which is kind of like what we do in crypto today. So it's going to be entirely different. I think NFTs will also start to open a lot of applications around real world assets when regulation does start to understand, anything really, but starts to take some sort of action. We're seeing that live playing out to some degree. I think it'll take a lot longer than we probably all want, but nonetheless, hopefully for the better. I think it's going to happen one way or another though.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And our next question, how do you envision the metaverse in 2030? Mike.
I envision the metaverse in 2030 as walking down the street in New York City, and someone's got shoes that leave like a trail of fire. You see them in your glasses, and the metaverse is just all around us. The metaverse is just a layer on top of the reality we inhabit, and I think we have to fight to make it a layer that adds value instead of a layer that oppresses us with a bunch of chaos and noise.
I love that. How about you, Ryan? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the quote unquote like launcher for everyday activities, right? The Ready Player One vibes is definitely what I'm going for, but hopefully you still go out and do that. It's like an augmented reality versus pure virtual reality. But you log in, you wake up, you have your morning cup of joe, and then you log into your workday, and it's going to be all through the metaverse, right? You walk into the little subway, and your character then appears in the metaverse office. 2030, it's a long time away, and so so there's a lot that can happen between now and then, but I see that as a launcher, right? You log into whatever social situation you're in, and then you go off and you play your game, or you go to work, or you do whatever. Very Ready Player One style.
How about you, Nick?
Yeah, I think what everyone's getting at here is the line between digital is going to continue to blur. Like over the last 10 years, just look at how much it's blurred. It's insane if you really look. And it's going to continue down that path. Like think about your daily life right now. Like look at what we are on right now. But your daily life, I mean, how many hours? Like when was the last time you were without a digital device, like a phone on it in downtime, boredom, whatever?
Blasphemy being said here. Oh my goodness.
Right?
How would you survive?
What would you do? I always think of like, if you needed to go somewhere, like what would you do, right? Like time before maps, even. What would a lot of people in today's age, I think they would genuinely have a panic attack. But So I think that's going to continue to happen, hopefully for the better. To Mike's point, there's a lot of fighting. I think people like us and just every day, anyone has to fight for and define on their own terms what they're okay with, what they're not okay with, because there will be bad actors, there will be negative consequences, but I think the positive hopefully will outweigh the negative.
And I want you guys to drop your top 3 NFTs and NFT projects.
Yeah, I can kick it off for me. It's obviously my Rumble columns for bias.
Okay.
My second, there's an artist who I know well, and he's a great guy, and I just think he works underappreciated, called Mike Fogg. Builds really cool like 3D like sports scenes, and it's just got this like vibe to it that I align with. So I always like to put a cool artist on. And then the third one is the ReNFT Genesis cards, obviously another biased, but we gave those out way back free, like when it was crazy to give something free 2 years ago, and like community still goes crazy over them. So it's a close one to me.
How about you, Mike? Do you have an NFT collection?
I'm gonna answer this in a terrible way, which like find the community and the NFT that you like for yourself, because mine are gonna be way different than yours down the road. But you know, if you lean towards the GameFi NFT kind of collections, it's not a bad way to go.
No, you bring up a very good point. But I love everybody's different perspective, you know, and like what they consider their favorite NFT collections, which is really indicative of like what you guys are all about. And how about you, Mike? Is there anything specifically regarding NFT collections?
Oh, you know, like as an NFT collector, I'm not really into the GameFi stuff yet. I feel like the games are not there, and so I don't collect GameFi NFTs. I'll say that, you know, my Twitter PFP is a Savage Dog, so I got to go with Savage Dogs.
Okay.
I like the cool cats. I like Klon. He's such a sweetheart. So, and then, there's a whole bunch of artists. There's just a whole bunch. You know what I will say is just like, go look for one-of-one art from people who are not charging a lot of money and buy some art you love. That's the real NFT market.
Yep.
I definitely love that. Now we're gonna start wrapping this up. Oh, we have a hat.
Hey!
In the house.
Oh, there we go.
All right, we made it.
Oh,
It's hat time.
It's the perfect cherry on top. Now, friends, you know, lastly, what message do you have for our NFT Studio 24 audience, our builders, our creators, and the ones that are just really inspired by your words? Any words that you would like to share with them?
Kick it off, Mike.
You know, what you can build is what you want to build is attainable. Don't let the like VCs and the people who are trying to pump their bags tell you what you can build and where you need to build it. Like, stick to your dreams of the experience you want to create and find the people who want to empower that, because you know you can do it.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryan?
I agree full-heartedly with Mike said, but the only other thing that I would add is if you're looking to get in the industry and make connections and whatever, feel free to get at me on Twitter and that kind of stuff. My handle is at Rihanna_Rex, short for Rhinosaurus Rex, my gamer handle. And yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to meet new people who are coming into the industry and make connections where I can. So feel free to use and leverage this network. NFT Studio 24 is doing some really cool stuff. So help us help you kind of situation.
Definitely love
there you
it.
go.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that. And how
That's a
about
really
you,
good.
Nick?
It's a really good point of just reach out. This space is the most approachable space you've ever seen. The first space competitors partner with competitors, even like it's right. So just DM, reach out to anyone. The worst that can happen is they won't respond. But I'll also add, like, my personal thesis has always been in this space to not chase trends and set them right. Like, there's the trend chasing is a dangerous game. It's, I think, a lot of the toxicity in this space, and everyone continues to chase the puck to some degree. So that's what I'll add is get involved in what you love. There will be a time for it.
Wonderful. You guys, thank you so much for this conversation. You know, this space, what the conversation, the dialogue that we had is really what this space is all about. I can't wait to keep up with all you guys on social media and touch base with you all maybe 6 months down the line, which we know is years in the Web3 space. Again, thank you all so much for our NFT Studio 24 interview podcast, and I'll see you guys real soon.
Thank you, Andrea. It was such a joy.
Cheers.
Thanks.